Hey guys, I have a special guest with me today. He is a vegan science writer that covers a variety of topics from the health effects of a vegan diet and the environment impact of eating animal products. To this oh fuck. I'm sorry, let's start again.
Okay.
This is really hard for me. Psychological. Yeah, okay, let's
Yeah,
do it
I was
again.
gonna say
This
it's
is
like
my
your first
accent.
language. Oh my.
Hi guys, and welcome to Vegan Booty Talks. Today I have a special guest with me. He is a vegan science writer that covers a variety of topics from the health effects of a vegan diet and environment impacts of eating animal products to the psychological phenomenon of casual animal exploitation. He is a YouTuber. He is currently studying in the public health at the master level. He is just the funniest guy. And welcome to the show, Mike. Hi, how are you today?
Hey. Oh, don't set the bar too high for me being funny because I'm not actually funny in person. It's just the videos or
Yeah, but this
pre-recorded
is what
videos.
you are look like, and your videos is always not just interesting and informative. They are also really funny to watch.
Oh, well, thank you. And I also just want to say I love your logo with the two O's, it's the booty.
Thank you.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about booty, but we're gonna talk about some fitness and veganism, right?
I could probably talk about booties for like, I don't know if I could do 30 or 40 minutes. I could probably do like 20 minutes on the booty. We talk all about if you see it from the front, what that means.
Okay.
And
Okay.
just
Good to know. Yep. Okay. Before we get started with my questions, I just want to followers know you a little better. So can you please tell us where you're from and what do you do for a living?
All right. Well, right off the bat, I am from Iowa and I've lived in other places, but that's where I'm from and where I live right now again. And I have been doing YouTube as a job for at least 5 years. Maybe I'm at 6 years now. So I used to be like an industrial designer doing like product design and all that stuff. And then I just got too interested in the health topic and just started doing a bunch of research and then making videos. And then of course now I'm doing, as you said, a master's in public health. So that's what I'm all about.
That's awesome. When you decided to study as the medical health worker?
Well, it's not technically medical. I mean, you wouldn't call me a medical professional like a doctor
Mm-hmm.
or a nurse or something like that. But a master's in public health for me is all about having a good health understanding and being able to talk about and read the scientific literature, which is what I've always been obsessed with anyway. And so going and doing all of the classes on like statistics and focusing particularly on public health. And so I feel like, I've been able to talk about it by fully relying on the studies and quoting them and showing them to everybody. And I'm going to keep doing that. But I feel like having just a little bit more of a credential behind me might help, especially if I want to write a book or something like that, or be involved in studies. So that's where I come from.
That's awesome. Yeah, we are all gonna wait for your book now because you
Oh,
mentioned
now I have to
that.
write it. That's after I graduate and then I start writing it. And so, maybe wait a few years.
Yeah, anyway, so we're gonna wait for that.
Yeah. With me.
Okay, can I ask you how long you been vegan?
I have now been officially vegan for over 10 years, and that includes my transition to being
Mm-hmm.
vegan, which took maybe 6 to 9 months of me being like, oh no, I still need to eat an occasional bite of animal protein, otherwise I'll shrivel up. And now I weigh 30 pounds more than I did when I was vegan, and I'm way stronger or than
Wow.
when I ate meat. And I'm stronger now as a vegan. And so, yeah, it's been over a decade, which is always fun because now I can title all my videos "Vegan of 10 years gets blood test" or "Vegan of 10 years response to this." So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this is pretty long time. So what is in first place push you to be vegan or to move to plant-based diet?
yeah, I basically just read the China study, which is a Dr. Campbell book, which really it was the heart disease and Alzheimer's stuff that kind of freaked me out because I have Alzheimer's in my family and heart disease in my family. Even though that the shocking part of that video is on cancer in rats and turning cancer on and off with cow protein. And it's like, that's like a mouse study and it's interesting. And yes, there's some potential connection between dairy hormones and stuff like that in cancer, but it was really what is happening to the circulatory system and actually learning that, the clogging of arteries, what animal fat does. And so right then and there, I was on a road trip and I read the China study and I just tried to go vegan. Like the very next restaurant we pulled up to as I was reading the book, I was like, I'm going to try to eat vegan here. So
Wow.
that was like green beans and pasta without sauce or something.
Not
Trying my
bad. They
very,
have
very
a
best.
beans. Not bad.
Yeah, they had some green beans, so it could have been worse.
Yeah. Okay. So why is this only book has affect you such a big way? You know, a lot of people even listen to my podcast and they just interesting, but they never
Mhm.
make the step to actually, you know, move out from the animal products. So what was happening with you?
Well, two things. One, I'm really science-based, and so reading the science was like, oh my gosh, I gotta at least try this. And then number two, my partner gave me that book and we were on a road trip together too. So I had like full support as well. So it really helped to go vegan and have somebody there being like, oh, don't eat this, blah, 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 like holding my hand through it. Otherwise, I might have been like, oh, that would be great. I should try going vegan sometime. Instead, it was like, no, I feel comfortable enough to just try it my next meal. So
Interesting. Okay. So do you remember what challenges was that at that time? Like, have you felt it's hard or maybe you face some struggles?
the hardest part was again my internal struggle of like, do I need some type of animal protein? Like I'm a dude, I'm constantly have these pressures of masculinity. Like I don't want to become like less muscular than I already was at like 6'1" and 150 pounds barely.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I was not willing to lose that. So I would still be like occasionally eating fish for a few months. And then the challenge was just the standard challenges of learning how to eat vegan, but that really wasn't that much of a problem because again, I had somebody helping me. And you know, I didn't have a problem giving up meat. I didn't have a problem giving up dairy or eggs. I had like one like months later during my vegan transition after not eating cheese, I was like, oh fine, I'll have some like cheese pizza to just make sure for sure that I'm not like missing something that I really love. And I had some and I was just like, that was okay, I can live without it. And
Mm-hmm.
so here I am.
Nice, nice. So how did you figure out like to eat enough of protein? You start doing your own research or your partner help you to make sure you got all those, you know, supplements and the proteins that everyone
Well,
needs?
B12 was obvious from the beginning already at that point. So that was really the only supplement I took. And then protein, I was not really concerned about like protein powder and stuff. I just like made sure I got enough beans, which is still for somebody that eats a decent amount, it still pretty much instantly gets you to your recommended daily amount of protein, which I
Mm-hmm.
think for the average male is like 56 grams is, you know, what you want to hit. So that's really easy to hit for me, at least. Like a lot of times I'll get to like 100 or whatever, just eating like various nuts and oatmeal and stuff and adding up over time, whole grains and legumes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's actually really nice that you mentioned that. A lot of people think that you have to eat much more of protein per day, especially those in bodybuilding world when I do work, because like people come to me and they think they need to eat such a big amount of protein, and this is actually not right. In order to be healthy and have some muscle mass, you don't need to overdo, and that's
Yes.
absolutely normal amount that you said for men, and for females is even less. But again, it all depends of your goals. So you
Mhm.
said you was working out when you was like transition. Like what type of workouts did you do at that time?
I wasn't actually working out 10 years ago very much. Like I was somewhat
Mm,
active. Like I was more into maybe even more into running back then. But then later on, like the last few years, I was working out pretty regularly before the pandemic happened. And then I stopped going to the gym because it was just an easy
mhm.
place to be. And then I recently started going like rock climbing again, stuff like that. But I never was really like, I need to get huge or super buff. So I was just in the gym like maybe once every few weeks when I tried to go before, like I used to before I was vegan. And then that was my way for like 5 years. But I lived in Colorado and I was, you know, when I first started going vegan, I would like run up the mountains and stuff and be
Mhm.
like, I'm so fit, I'm vegan, and just like jog up straight stairs. That was my way of being like super fit and feeling good about myself. Um, and that was, if anyone's in Boulder, that was Mount Sanitas. You should try running up Mount Sanitas. It's fun.
Oh wow, yeah, I should try that for sure.
Yeah,
Have
it's
you
probably
like,
good Hawaiian mountains to run up too.
yeah, I never did it. I'm interested if you feel any like any health changes when you transition to plant-based diet. Did you
I was
feel any
already,
difference?
I was already pretty healthy in general because I was so young and The main one is I was still struggling with acne to a reasonable extent
Mm.
before I went vegan. And so I switched going vegan, and then my acne got significantly better just by doing that. And then I went like no to low oil, and that just like got rid of the last acne that I have. And like now it's really only if I have like something from my mask or something, I might get a blemish, but I haven't been lucky to not have any. And it's also, I mean, it's sort of the case that I'm also just older now. Like I was 20 when I went vegan, and now I'm over 30, you know? So
Mhm.
I definitely, yeah, probably hormonally different. Although my testosterone is still high for getting it tested, or like normal high,
Mhm.
like 700 or something like around that. Oh, 666 was what it was.
Oh, interesting. You
Yeah,
get tested your hormone level
just
every.
once for fun as part of like a partnership. And I even wonder if I need to do it again, because I accidentally waited way too late in the day to get it tested. And you're supposed to get it tested right when you wake up early in the morning, but I waited till like 11 o'clock and then I got it tested. So it might be even higher. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. Interesting. So now I want to ask you how you actually start to making those videos.
Oh yeah,
Because it wasn't like it wasn't, if I understand right, you wasn't make them before you went vegan, right?
correct. I had never, well, I was always like, if there's something cool, I might make like a little video about it. Like I made some sort of sustainability videos, but they weren't like me talking. It was like, oh, here's like this recycled bike trailer. Isn't it cool? And for some reason, that video that I have is like 200,000 views from close to like 15 years ago, which is funny. But I started my Mike the Vegan channel like very deliberately. And I I actually, okay, let me back up. On my personal channel, I did try posting a couple nutrition videos before I officially created Mike the Vegan. So I was like seeing if I'd like doing it, and they were just really bad. Like I was talking into my webcam, bad audio, bad video, poor delivery. And I was, they got like no views. And even my first few videos on Mike the Vegan got no views. But I was always into the research, and because it took a lot to convince me to go vegan. So when people start like asking why I'm vegan or debating why I'm vegan, I'd always throw out a bunch of studies. And so here and there, people would be like, you should do a YouTube video about what you just said. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool if I did that. And then eventually I just had some free time, and I sat down and I started official Mike the Vegan channel. And I sat down and filmed a video for the first time on Mike the Vegan. And so it was just people kind of telling me to do it, thinking it'd be cool, those two things together, and then realizing there was a total like science vacuum on vegan YouTube. And I should be clear, like there's usually, if I'm doing a video on like a scientific topic, there's going to be, 7 to 30 or 40 studies that I cite usually, depending on how long the video is. So I try to never make claims without the peer-reviewed research right there. And so that's my whole niche, and that's why I started.
Wow. So is that was successful in the beginning, like your first vegan science videos? No?
Absolutely not. So I had actually posted the first 3 videos, and I got like 0 views, between 0 and 10 views for the first 3 videos. And so I kind of gave up on getting a following. And I was like, I'm just going to create these as like a way for me to put everything boom, boom, boom in like a coherent thought pattern, and get all of my resources in one place, like all of my studies on a topic. And then I had this kid, his name was Jake. He's now probably not a kid anymore because it's been like 7 years. And he was always only like a few years younger than me. I don't know why I call him a kid. And he is just like super into my channel from the very beginning, when I had like 0 views.
Mhm.
And he was just like promoting it to everybody. He would like post under all of these videos of like, hey, this is a good video on this topic. And I believe he shared a video under Happy Healthy Vegan, or on Happy Healthy Vegan's Facebook, they shared a video of Happy Healthy Vegan, and Happy Healthy Vegan did a Facebook post sharing my video, and that's what got me the first like 200 or something views. And I was like, oh my god, this is what success is like. Time to quit my job. 200 views. So that's how I started.
Yeah, but how you actually decided to quit your job? This is a big step. Like,
Okay, yeah, I can tell you about that. So basically, I was still doing freelance product design work for like the first year and a half or 2 years. And I just slowly, as my views went up and my ad revenue went up, and I was able to like start selling. I've never really made anything off selling shirts, but like I started doing things like that. And I was able to just lower the amount of work that I did for freelance design. And
mhm.
then eventually I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. In fact, it cost me money to put my time into this design work compared to like working on the channel. So
Wow.
That's how it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing story. It's so inspiring for a lot of people because right now, with all this COVID, everyone want to work online and
Yeah.
especially doing YouTube. And now it's got so popular. So if someone is want to start right there, just like you, what you would like recommend to people to do?
Yeah, it is pretty difficult. And I will be honest, I've sat down with probably over 20 people who have been like, this is your job. How do I make something like this my job? And most people, at least in the video realm, don't want to do the video editing. So if you actually want to go the video route, you have to be mentally prepared to be doing a lot of video editing, to take the time to learn it, to put in the effort to do things really efficiently, like making like video templates and like thinking ahead and not overburdening yourself and like knowing when to stop and just being willing to edit for hours on end. And that's what most people will post 1 or 2 videos that I've talked with, even though I gave them all of like my best advice, and then they'll just like stop and never do it again, especially because those first 3 videos where you get like 0 views,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard. And so it took me like a year to get to 7,000 subscribers, I think, which is not like I mean, that's still really good, but that's not like a massive following. That's not quit your job level by any means, unless you have a really loyal following that you're selling. Like if you're selling a book or a program with 7,000 followers, like then you can do well, which is why I would almost say like have some backup product that as you grow can keep you doing it as a full-time job sooner, instead of
Mm-hmm.
waiting until you get that like 100,000 subscribers. Because like ad revenue now, even for me, is not as high as it's been. So I have to diversify everything that I do. And I'm lucky to be supported by people and have like brand deals that aren't horrible companies and stuff like that. So I think it's a little bit more difficult than it maybe was, especially in like the vegan scene, because I don't know, there was a little bit of a boom and like everybody was wanting to learn the basics about YouTube maybe like 4 or 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
about vegan stuff on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit easier to get started as a channel then than it is now. But if you have a niche, and honestly, anybody starting a YouTube channel, if they're just like sharing their life and have like a good personality or relatable or whatever, they can probably make it up to like 10 or 100,000 subscribers in like a year or so, if they are really putting the effort in, posting at least a video a week, which is my personal rule. Really, I should be doing 2 or 3, but I just can't do it and go to school and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So there's just so much. I mean, I could talk about that for like, I don't know if you want to keep talking about that, but I could talk about that for like hours. Like I just called into a class and talked about that exact topic for an hour. So like a college class. So
Yeah,
I,
this is actually a cool idea. Have you ever think to open a school now, how to be
oh
successful?
yeah. Well, I have some people who I was at like a vegan meetup and they were really pushing me to start like a YouTube masterclass kind of thing, which I still probably should do. It's just really hard for me to sit down and make non-vegan related YouTube videos
Yeah,
and
I could
not
imagine.
videos for my channel. Yeah, like it's, I've done it with the tiny house. I have a tiny house channel that I haven't posted in a while. That's a
Mhm.
channel that, I managed to edit on and get stuff out. And it did pretty well until the tiny house was like done, or I just got too busy to keep doing it. But that's sort of how I've gone about it till now.
Okay, I know you can talk about that forever, and it's really like huge topic to talk about. But if you can give like 3 advices, and I would say the first one's gonna be a post video every week and don't give up, right? Maybe like 2 more advices for the beginners.
Yeah, for sure. Find your niche. So if you're just doing exactly what somebody else is doing, no one's going to be excited to watch you, right? So like if you're creating a Mike the Vegan channel or a Vegan Booty Talks 2, if you're just copying somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
like if someone's copying me or somebody's copying you, then it's not like a unique thing that's being created. And so that way it won't stick out and people won't feel a need to watch your channel as much, especially if it's already been done first. And so that is one huge piece of advice. And then my other biggest one is like take the necessary steps to not burn yourself out, because most people stop creating YouTube videos because they get burnt out. And so that is a lot of times, like I was talking about from the editing, but once you get that down, it can be just from, taking comments too seriously. Obviously, if there's things out of your control that can burn you out, but just not overproducing or forcing yourself to overproduce. That's why I've been at 1 video a week now again, because if I just go too hard and make 2 videos a week, it's just like so much research, so much editing, and then I get burnt out, and then my relationship with it changes, so it's less fun. I still want to have a good time with it. So that's just how I roll.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I think people are gonna, benefit from those tips.
Hopefully.
Now I want deep into like, of course, most popular topic and everyone is talking about is all this COVID stuff.
Mhm.
And then what I want to ask you as a scientist is, what is your opinion of some things I heard and studies I read about veganism and the COVID-19 pandemic? Because
Mhm.
I personally read a lot of studies shows that vegans less affected by COVID pandemic. I wouldn't say they are never gonna get it, but some study shows that we are as a vegans kind of more in a safer place. Have you read about that? And what is
Yeah,
your
I have a video about it, and I would say that's very much a fair statement that you're in a safer place. The study that they did was it was observational, so it wasn't like, it can't determine causality, but it can give you good information about what's happening in populations. And they found that people on a even loosely plant-based diet, well, you didn't have to be vegan for that one, but I believe that the vegan people were probably better off based off, just how the fish eaters in there who were thrown in actually had a lower uh, score in terms of how much resistance they had to COVID, and then they put them all together. But basically, it was 73% incidence of moderate to severe COVID for people following what they described as a plant-based diet,
Mhm.
which is ridiculous. I mean, you're talking about, if you were to just put that into deaths, I mean, we're talking about, in the last time I checked, it was 600,000 deaths in the US. Pretty much all of those people weren't plant-based. Maybe even if you subtract 10% for people that are plant-based, it would theoretically, if everybody had gone plant-based, would have prevented like 400,000 deaths. I don't know if, again, assuming the causality, which there's very strong lines of evidence that it is causal, and not just like they like to walk more, because we have things like vegans average normal BMI, and the virtually all deaths, like over 80% of deaths, I think, have been in people who are obese. So people who are vegan, because of the amount of fiber that they eat and the amount of plants that they eat that are lower calorie and higher nutrition and antioxidant stuff, the obesity rate is so low in vegans compared to your average population. The diabetes rate is so much lower. I mean, from the Adventist study, is a 78% lower risk of all diabetes for people who are vegan. And that's a huge comorbidity that is very related to mortality. And then the heart disease thing, of course, keeping the arteries open and clear is huge for that. So we have a bunch of very credible lines of what could be causing it. We'd have to have an impossible study created where you take a few hundred people, put them on a plant-based vegan diet, and few hundred people that weren't, and then just like have them get exposed to COVID and see who dies. Like, it's not an ethical study. It's never going to be done. So the information we have, in my opinion, is very strong. And I'm about to do a video comparing a plant-based diet versus a low-carb diet for COVID,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be a fun one. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. This is amazing. But I want to point here that people want to say, oh, but not every vegans is healthy vegans, right?
Mhm.
So how about those vegans who eat French fries and Oreos every day? What do you think about those? Is those are also less
Well,
COVID?
French fries are classified as a vegetable. So if by the US government, I'm just joking. Yeah, obviously they're going to be worse off. Like, all the studies showing healthy versus unhealthy plant-based diet index, they're going to be worse off than healthy plant-based. But people, just if you lump all the vegans together, including the unhealthy vegans in general, like, you'll see, like, from one meta-analysis, 15% lower cancer. And that's what they did in the Adventist study. They were throwing a bunch of just all the vegans together that were vegan for like religious reasons. So yeah, they might have had some health motivations, but they were still eating like processed mock meats and things like that. And probably, I don't know how much, vegan ice cream and stuff like that. It's hard to tell depending on the year of the study, but in general, it's still better off. Like, there's still less saturated fat in vegan ice cream than there is in animal-based ice cream, and plant-based saturated fat raises LDL significantly less than animal-based saturated fat on a gram per gram basis. So like, one bite of plant-based saturated fat is less bad for you than one bite of animal-based saturated fat. And then, of course, there's sugar. I mean, it's interesting. Vegans eat a little bit more sugar in the Adventist studies, and definitely more carbs in general. and they still had the way lower diabetes, and there's mechanisms for that I have
Mhm.
in my videos. But basically, yeah, it's not good to eat processed foods. No one's saying processed foods are healthy, but who's going to do worse, processed food and animal products, or just some processed foods that are vegan? Like vegans they're doing good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what to add. Yeah,
It's all
I'm
good. We probably
nutritionist,
have a
I
delay
know
too.
that. Yeah, but a lot of people just come to me and say these things, so I just want to mention those,
For sure.
and then make sure we talk about those. And do you like have your personal opinion? Why is that like that? Why vegan diet is related to COVID-19 pandemic and why we are as vegans less affected?
I mean, in addition to the actual direct
Yeah.
disease and BMI stuff, I do want to add that the plant-based group just had like ever so slightly lower rate of getting COVID to start with, and that wasn't even statistically significant. So we'd have to have a larger population. We don't even know if that holds true. So it's not even that the vegan people or plant-based people are necessarily getting it less or have a resistance to getting it. Like there's nothing magical in their nose or whatever that just like blocks it. But once it's in their system, they're just going to be doing a lot better. And I think a lot of that has to do with, again, we got to look at that heart disease aspect, because when you're talking about what's happening in the lung, it kills people, and you're talking about that inflammatory storm, cytokine storm, then you are having too much inflammation that ends up killing you. And vegans, put somebody on a vegan diet, and it's a different inflammation marker, but their C-reactive protein drops by 30%, just like
Yeah.
boom. That's one clinical trial that I talk about. And so that is huge. Inflammation is what kills you. If you can lower your inflammation, and then also, as horrible as it is to get into the nitty-gritty details, the little alveoli, the little sacs in your lungs, they have direct connection to your bloodstream. And so if you're having like microvasculature that's clogged, then you're going to have a lower oxygen absorption through your alveoli and things like that. So if you're already worse in terms of your lung capacity because you're having some type of cardiovascular disease, and then you add on top of that the extra inflammation that you might have from someone who's already inflamed from eating animal products 3 times a day over and over again. You add all these things together, and diabetes is really similar. It's a lot of times there's microvasculature like clogging in that as well, which I think is the main connection for why that's also a comorbidity, or so that leads to more mortality. But you can start to see a picture, and it's just like the way the arteries dilate on a vegan diet. Like even if you already have reasonably clogged arteries, like boom, they can open back up, and then you get some way more blood flow in those areas, like hopefully more to your lungs. I don't have like studies directly on lung blood flow in plant-based diet, but we have studies showing like 300 to 400% increase in blood flow when put on Ornish's plant-based diet. So it's there. All of the pieces are there. So someday maybe we'll have a study on it.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, why do you think? Because all the studies out there, the doctors doesn't tell you about this. Unfortunately, when you go to the doctor, the first thing they ask, did you get a shot? And did you vaccinate yourself? That's all they care about. And I'm
Yeah.
shocked about this. Like, it gets me so upset. I'm like, why you don't ask me about my diet? Why you don't ask you what I'm doing, what I'm eating? Why you only need to get me a COVID shot? Like,
Yeah.
why?
I mean, we don't need to talk about it here, but I am personally pro-vaccine, but I'm also pro-lifestyle change. And so doctors are totally of the belief that people just don't want to make large lifestyle changes. Like they don't want to do it themselves as doctors who are in the US a lot of times, like not healthy in terms of like living with obesity and on and on. But that's just it's just they've given up kind of. I know that's horrible, but there's some studies on that just being like people think that doctors think that their patients don't want to make a change that's that big, that it's hard. They're addicted to these other foods, which is actually true to a lot of an extent.
Yeah.
But there's also it's just these lifestyle modifications where people are just failing to even easy ones. Like we're getting good data on vitamin D, like even taking vitamin D or getting vitamin D in the sun, easy for you in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Huge implications, benefits potentially for COVID. I think if you're over like 50 nanograms or whatever. then we're seeing at least association of lower mortality. And so beyond what would be expected from somebody who's like trapped inside because they have COVID. So it's like reverse causality is knocked out there a little bit. And yet doctors haven't, like the major public health organizations haven't been recommending even vitamin D. And it's like, come on, like that could help.
Like
It's
what?
like, why not add it on top of all these things? Like, yes, we know social distancing and these things help, and like washing your hands, but yeah, a diet that could prevent 70%, even like from an angle that I wouldn't go, I'm like, go full vegan is gonna have the best benefit, but them even being like, eat a Mediterranean diet that's more plant-based, and you can possibly see some of these gains, and they don't even bother. And a lot of it, I think, is like right now people are overwhelmed, and the public health messaging is just trying to stay simple. So it's like, did you get vaccinated? Did you do this? Blah, 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 blah. And like not zooming out and being like, and here's some other things that are extremely effective that you should do. And that's what it is. And then you could get into the capitalism thing of like, well, people don't make money off a plant-based diet, and vitamin D is cheap, so like there's no interest there. But I don't want to get too disillusioned with the whole public health establishment, because then people go really far off the deep end into like theories where they're, forging death certificates and stuff like that of COVID, and on and on and on. And it was, Dr. Fauci microchipping your butthole. We don't need to go there. Slippery slope.
Okay, you mentioned some supplements, and as a huge in science vegan, I want to ask you, what is your personal advice for anyone out there? I would say vegan or non-vegan, but specifically vegan, as supplements must go, even though COVID related.
COVID or normal?
Normal doesn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I just follow the doctors on this, and although the doctors are conflicting on this, obviously B12.
Yeah.
And then depending on the time of year, it's general. If everybody in the US is told to take vitamin D, like might as well do that anyway. And that helps a lot, like regardless of your diet. And then vegans, especially, because if you drink cow's milk, they disinfect the udders with iodine, or they add vitamin D first of all, and then they disinfect the udders with iodine. They're getting iodine that way. I think you can get enough iodine in a vegan diet, depending on the soil. But if the soil is really bad, or you don't know, like you could maybe take a multivitamin with iodine. But the main ones for me, it's like B12 and D. Those I think are really important. And then you could start talking about omegas, which there's still a huge debate on it. I mean, there's the notion that if you're getting a reasonable amount of those plant-based ALAs, the shorter chain, like you're probably going to be making enough, but then we don't really know how much we actually need. And then is there an amount that's just going to give us an added benefit? Like if we're getting DHA on top of that in high amounts, can that help with long-term brain preservation? We don't really know for sure. We have the study showing that people who were given given doses of DHA had less brain shrinkage. Was that because they had heart disease and it's basically a blood thinner, so it's allowing blood to remain going to their brain a little bit more? Like, is that the case? It's also structurally involved in the brain, but then it's like, how much do we really need to maintain that? And that distinction has yet to be made. So I just go with the safe, like Dr. Greger recommendation of taking DHA, preformed EPA and DHA, which are those long chain amino acids or long chain fatty acids. And I actually have, oh yeah, here's my little B12, right? I keep it next to me. Somebody sent the Why Not Natural sent me this. It's just a little dropper of methylcobalamin, which people,
I have the same one, honestly.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's a cherry flavor.
Yeah, it's a cherry flavor.
Yeah, I have the same one. Really good. Yeah,
that's
I like
hilarious.
it.
And the methyl, people are always like, what if I have the MTHFKR or whatever gene? I won't say it in case you don't want me to swear on this channel, but mother blanker gene. And that one, you want methylated B12 just in case. Like I'm just echoing what the doctors are saying, not a medical opinion. And so those are the three. That's kind of like the triangle of ones. And then you can just, focus on food. I think for most of the other ones, like if you're really trying to hit like selenium, you can eat those nuts. And if you're, trying to do iodine, you can eat things like kelp flakes, super high. In fact, sometimes vegans have gotten too high. But yeah, if you're eating like a pretty processed vegan diet, like you're going to be wanting to add kelp to that, because potatoes might have it or they might not have iodine depending on the soil. But just zooming out, keeping things simple, vitamin B12 and then vitamin D in the winter seem to be the very basics. And then everybody should be including some type of omegas. omega-3s in their diet is just like basic human needs. And then a lot of people, like even when I ate meat, I didn't eat fish very often at all. I probably had a horrible omega status. And
Mhm.
so I don't know. I mean, I was fine, but would
Yeah.
it have been worse off in the end? And I don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting as a nutritionist working with the athlete. I would say usually everyone feels fine until certain point,
Mm-hmm.
before it's got a problem because nothing
Sure.
is happening in our system is in 1 second. It's like you have to do it a while. Like let's say you don't have enough of iodine, and wait until at least 2 years, and then you may not. You never know because our body is also smart, right? It's going to adjust and change, and if you don't have enough of something, your body can adjust and kind of, I wouldn't say start producing it, but being pretty much healthy, even though it doesn't have all those nutrients, but it's smart to add them. And I'm truly believe that B12 and vitamin D, vitamin C, and omegas, this is like need for everyone out there. Plant-based diet is not the reason you should take that, right?
Yeah.
That's my true belief. But
Yeah. I mean, my B12 is higher than the average omnivore. Sorry, keep going.
yeah. And if we're gonna look and specifically athletes, because I work and all my audience, pretty much a lot of them in fitness, like what do you may say about BCAAs, glutamine, and creatine? Do you think that plant-based eaters should add that specifically?
Mm.
Um,
Well, branched chain amino acids are, of course, just in plants as well. They're just essential amino acids generally. So if you're getting legumes in an amount, like you're getting enough. It's if you're trying to get super jacked, you can kind of understand how you would want to get more. But then I'm always in this balance. For me, it's about like preventing disease and shooting for longevity as much as I can, like knock on wood, get it. And branched chain amino acids in particular, you have leucine, and I think methionine can do this a little bit too, but leucine over a certain amount, I think it's like 4 grams, raises IGF-1, which is a growth factor that basically is like the key component for creating cancer, and also triggers like that mTOR pathway, these aging pathways. So it's something that I personally don't want to go too high in. It's something that animal protein is really good at triggering. Milk raises it, which goes back to that connection as well, and also has it in it. So there's 2 ways that milk hits the IGF-1 factor. So I feel like if you're somebody who's like a bodybuilder and you're doing a bulk and a cut and like you want BCAAs so that you don't lose as much and you're not like overdoing it, like I don't see a danger to that per se. Um, just from my personal opinion. But I do see a little bit of risk of people slamming down BCAAs and like increasing potentially fueling something that's not good
mhm,
growing in your body. And then creatine, I need to do a video on it because there's some conflicting evidence, some showing that like it can help vegans, some showing that it doesn't necessarily matter as much. And I just don't know for sure. I mean, I have creatine and I took it for like a second, but then I was like, I didn't really like the way it tasted, so I stopped taking it.
mhm,
But that's something that like if you don't care about taking supplements and it's not a sort of mental burden for you to be taking another one, and you're not going to like, I don't know, hate your diet and lifestyle if you're taking more supplements. It seems like creatine could only have benefits based off the data that we have now. I mean, obviously you can overdo it and take way too much, but all of those danger concerns, that's something I have looked at the data on, have gone just way out the window. Like the chances of something bad happening from like a smaller dose of creatine is just not it's
mhm,
not there. And so, it could be good. It could help somebody make a little bit of extra gains. Again, there was like a cognition thing where it was like people who are low in creatine. I think there were even plant-based people low in creatine. Taking it could increase like some cognitive functioning, but I also think that's probably from people who are already eating a deficient diet, calorically
mhm,
deficient diet, and probably just not good, not a good diet. So my
mhm,
guess is that you're going to make all that you need, especially looking at, I mean, if you look at what vegans who haven't taken creatine have been able to accomplish. I mean, again, remember you're replacing all the muscle in your body like every few years, and we're talking about plant-based athletes like Scott Jurek, who's pretty, I don't want to say purist, but he was somebody who I don't even think was taking protein powder. He would eat like hummus and pita on his runs. And he had the US record for the longest distance run in 24 hours, which I can't remember if it was like 120 or 160 miles, something ridiculous like that. in a day, and he held that record, and he didn't eat creatine. And like, I don't know about extreme bodybuilders, especially if they're always pushing the edge anyway. People who aren't vegan are probably taking creatine and as well as steroids and all of this stuff, depending on the bodybuilding field. So it's like, can't beat yourself too much up for wanting to take it to maybe get some extra benefits if you're pushing for them. But that's my take.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I personally agree with you. I've been a bodybuilder over 6 years, I guess. And I didn't even know what creatine is for almost like 4 years of my bodybuilding career, because I was trying to stay away from any supplements, and even creatine and BCAAs and glutamine at that time was for me like a drug. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I know, it kind of was presented like that.
Yeah, and it's good. And now people come in the bodybuilding world and they're like, what I need to take in order to build muscles. And I'm like, oh, hold on a second. You just need to be healthy and then hit the gym at least 3 times a week. That's what you need. You don't need to take any supplements yet. Hold on. Your body's actually okay without. So yeah, this is a good to point. And if we're talking about proteins, you being 10 years vegan and having so much experience in that, what is your top 5 vegan proteins, what you like to eat on a daily basis?
I definitely get my protein from random sources. So like, I start my day off with oatmeal and sometimes some almond butter, and those are just 2, decent sources. Like, not from a bodybuilding perspective. Like, oatmeal is an okay source of protein. Like, it gets, with how much I eat, like, it gets you there. It do a decent amount. And then I'm just all about legumes. I'm all about having a legume at every main meal, like every lunch and every dinner. So I definitely, between lentils and black beans and cannellini beans, I like a lot because they don't have like as much flavor, so you can put them in a lot of things. And sometimes peanut butter. So I don't know if that's like a top source. And then I will occasionally, like if I start working out again and I feel like I'm just like want to maybe get some extra boost, like I'll take like a little scoop of protein powder. And so I was doing that little like water lentil protein I had, but I used it all up. It was Green Machine protein. But I just probably consumed like 1 tub of protein powder since I went vegan. I haven't had like very little of that. But you should, by all means, go for it. And that's another thing. It was like, there's this vegan idea where it's like, you have to do everything that's natural. And it's like, yes, naturally we eat a ton of plants, but that doesn't mean you have to like you don't have to like cut off your own foot in terms of things that are above and beyond natural that could help you, that aren't necessarily harmful. Like, yeah, maybe doing a bunch of steroids isn't going to help your overall long-term health, but like, yeah, maybe taking some extra supplements would get you better than any caveman would, because you don't want to stop where the caveman stopped. You want to go past that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you said you like legumes, especially beans. Have you ever felt any digestion problems with that, especially when you transition to plant-based diet? Because a lot of my clients get trouble with beans, So if you do or not, tell us about that.
That's the 2-week phase that can be challenging for people. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, or even longer, depending on how bad off your gut is. I thankfully always ate, for some reason, a good amount of legumes. Like, I always still ate. So even though I was eating meat, I would still have like soy fake meats. I don't know why. Like, probably because I wasn't like a red meat eater, even though I ate a ton of chicken and some fish here and there, as I said. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much my answer. I don't really have a good answer for that one.
So you never like use any supplements for that, any like probiotics or any digestive enzymes? You was just okay by eating a lot.
I personally, yes. But then I've talked to a lot of people. Like, I've talked to Angie Sudegi, who's a gastroenterologist. And so I can give her good answer, which is like, ramping up your fiber, actually looking at how many grams you're eating, and then going for different types of fiber that aren't as brutal, like maybe soluble versus insoluble fiber. That might actually be your issue. And that's huge right there, because that, somebody can get really bloated from like a bloom in bacteria, and they get gas and they go, I would never want to do this. I can't be gassy around, that ruins my life or whatever. There's things like that. There's also, one tip. What am I talking about? I don't have tips. One from the literature. It's not going to work for everybody, but there's a little coated peppermint pill that apparently can really help with that bloating and stuff from fiber. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't, but the efficacy rate was pretty good from the literature. So
yeah, I never actually heard about that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can give you my tip. What I used to do is just soaked my beans or legumes in water, right, before you cook them. That's helped a lot. And yes, I do take digestive exams if I know I gonna eat a lot of beans, and especially if I'm not cooking them. I just, got some, I don't know, burrito from somewhere. So
Yeah.
that's helping you as well if you guys looking for that. And I think water. A lot of people who comes to me, they don't drink a lot of water. And if you eat a lot of fiber, you guys need to drink a lot of water in order to properly digest that, help your body to digest.
Definitely helps. Yeah, it absorbs a lot of water, and that's great for you anyway. Like helps you drink more. For me, it's like when I eat that type of stuff, I just feel like I need to drink a lot of water. And I notice a lot of people don't have that natural urge, and that might be why I've never really had a problem. I also am lucky to just have like really good digestion, and I got a gut test for the bacteria, and my bacteria were pretty good, really good in terms of diversity and overall score from the gut test. And so I'm lucky in that sense. But yeah, somebody might need Beano, that product, for helping digest beans in the beginning or something like that. Or if they're ramping up like crazy, even if they've been vegan for a while, heck, I don't know. I mean, maybe you do, but there's also ways to, ramp up your fiber. Like it's okay if for a couple weeks you might need to eat slightly more refined foods. I would say like maybe you have to have like half a thing of like white pasta with your other food or something, so that you're getting just like enough calories to keep going. And then of course you're going to be eating a lot of like fiber, with more fiber than you're used to with that. Like I think you're going to be okay for a couple weeks eating some white pasta, even if your plan is to never eat white pasta again.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for this information. That was really helpful. And before I let you go, I have a question that I ask everyone on my podcast.
Okay.
What you gonna do if that's gonna be the last day of your life on this earth?
Oh, that's an intense one, man. Well, being in Iowa in the winter is not that great for the last day on Earth. But I'm just going to get everybody that I know and care about together that's around, and just have like a big hangout session, just have like a little party, and just probably eat a bunch of good food and have good conversations. That's all I care about. It's the people I care about. So,
Awesome.
and then maybe make some like final Mike the Vegan videos. That's really morose. That is really morose. Like thinking about filming like your last video. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. It's all about, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is telling me that you are so, lovely and friendly person, and you take care about your followers as well, because you're gonna make some video even it's your last day in the earth.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess. No, I've met so many of my followers, and I just really call them followers. Some of my friends who watch me in real life at like Veg Fest and stuff, and it's always so great. I've met amazing people who have become like long-term friends there. So
Wow.
it's been great.
Awesome. So tell people who didn't follow you yet how they can find you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, just youtube.com/Mike the Vegan, MIC, like a microphone, which I thought was a cool pun, but now everybody gets it wrong. And just Instagram or Facebook /Mike the Vegan. I also have TikTok, Mike the Vegan, which is, I post sometimes. I was posting a lot, but I need to post more.
I even didn't know. Okay, I'm gonna find you on TikTok. I didn't.
Yeah, go to TikTok. Yeah, it's okay. Like I was doing science videos, and then I had like a Learn on TikTok partnership that like ended, and I just got kind of like, caught up in other things. So I got to get back on there.
Of course, yes. And I'm going to add all those names in the description below, guys. If you watch the video or you listen to the podcast, just scroll it down and you can find Mike. And before I let you go, I also have a small game I play with everyone. So just going to say two things and you should choose one. Sounds good?
Okay, sure.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Black or purple?
Purple.
Gym or outdoor workouts?
I'm gym just because it sucks outside where I am, but I love being outdoors. I'm gonna say outdoor because like snowboarding is my favorite thing, and yes, doing outdoor stuff.
Got it. Beach or mountains?
I'm gonna say mountains because again, snowboarding is literally like my favorite thing to do. But if I started surfing, it'd be beach. So
juice or smoothie?
Oh, smoothie for sure. I gotta get that fiber.
Wine or water?
Oh, water. Obviously, gotta stay hydrated.
Chocolate or sweet cream?
Chocolate, I guess.
Kiss or hug?
I'm gonna say hug because it applies to more people.
Love or sex?
Oh, love, of course, because that makes sex better. So
Okay, that was it. Thank you so much
because
for
if you
being
really
on.
care about sex, you want the love. 'Cause it makes sex better.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
conquered the challenge. Well, it was great to
Yeah.
meet you too. I really appreciate it. And if I come back to Hawaii, I'll have to stop by. But I was there a couple years ago, so
Oh, absolutely. Come to Hawaii. I'm on Oahu. I'll be happy to meet you here, show you some vegan spots. And it's so beautiful, not cold. So definitely gonna be happy to meet you here. Thank you so much again for finding time today and share it with us. And I am sure this podcast is gonna be amazing and people are gonna love to hear more from you. So maybe we even gonna be back.
yeah, I'm cool with that. Thanks for watching or listening. And yeah, have a good
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.